Alright guys, welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to Game and Compute. A simple topic. Um Strategy. So I'm not gonna go into detailed strategies. Because I feel like there's like too many routes to take. And I think, assuming that part of the audience or most of the audience or some of the audience might be kind of new to these topics. I don't really want to make it more confusing than it needs to be. So I'm going to kind of expand a little bit on some of the other money psychology topics, but also adding a little bit about strategy. So again, this isn't financial advice. It's not even recommendations. It's just kind of based on my experiences and based on what I've studied and what I've gathered. Just kind of, you know, coming from a psych background. Um, as far as like the field of work that I've been in, not recently anymore, but up until this year, I've been heavily working in this field. And I don't want this to sound like I'm bashing people who don't have money or who use government services or anything like that. Like, I do not judge those situations. From what I've seen, as far as how the system works, usually when people need money and it's urgent, there's not help available to them immediately unless you already have decent credit. um you know Unless you have like a profile where lending or applying, like, basically there's a fine line to walk. Like, if you make too much money or have too much money or have access to too much money or potential access to too much money, you don't qualify for government services at all. And if you need the money and have no money and have no job and have no place to live, you qualify for services, but those services are not quick. Like, usually if your mental health is in shape enough that you can eventually get work and just work your way out of a hole, that's probably going to be faster than what a case manager can do, especially in places like Southern California. I can't really speak to other places, but as far as LA, San Diego, I don't know Orange County too well because it's kind of like a weird, kind of in between place. Because I'm not saying that it doesn't have, it has like it's not known for high poverty. It's just kind of a different crowd that lives in Orange County for the most part. Like, um, it's kind of hard to peg, really. I'm not saying that there's no poverty there. It's just it's not like there's not like a Skid Row in Orange County, and there's not like a significant veterans population in Orange County or a significant homeless population. Like, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but when you compare to like LA or San Diego, Orange County doesn't really look like that. And then when you compare LA, San Diego, Orange County, just Southern California in general to a lot of other states, and other cities, unless you're looking at places like New York or San Francisco or the Bay Area, usually you're not going to come across a whole lot of stuff in the US that's going to cost more unless you're comparing like inner city LA to like beachfront property in Miami or something. Like, if you're comparing something like that, then like, okay, yeah, maybe. Or if you're comparing like kind of like economy living apartments to like luxury apartments and high rises, of course there's going to be that discrepancy between, like, you know the price ranges and stuff. Of course, you can definitely find more expensive stuff in other cities than it would be in LA, San Diego, those types of cities. But overall, that's not too much what I'm discussing here. I think it's mostly um, I think it's mostly fair to say that um, um, those types of uh, places, those overall, the cost of living in Southern California is quite pricey compared to most places. And I can't even really compare to like New York and San Francisco because as far as I know, they've pretty much always been more expensive than out this way, but they're completely different places. And I feel like most people aren't flocking to move to these places right now. Most people are kind of trying to get away from these types of places. And so while it's what I probably have the most experience with talking about, I wouldn't say that exactly everything I'm saying would totally apply everywhere. So out here, I mean, when I talk about cost of living, living expenses, things like that, usually what I'm referring to is one person on one income being able to kind of live independently without sharing rent, without sharing utilities, without some weird kind of or unique situation where they're kind of like given like a living stipend by their work or something like that. Like I'm not talking about unique experiences, where of course, yeah, it's going to make it easier to afford. I'm talking about the average Joe that makes the average income out in these areas and is faced with kind of like an average living experience. Most people, if you're able to work um, and you're not sharing rent, you're usually struggling. Um, Not always, but oftentimes. A lot of times, also, if you're not um, if you're not um, yeah, if you're not sharing work or if you're not um, sorry, my focus is way off today, guys. I apologize. Like if you're not sharing rent and you're not, you know, and you are working full time and you are able to work and you don't have any kind of like disabilities getting in the way of that, most people find it hard right out of college to afford living independently. Most people right out of high school can't live independently. Um, and so usually where I see the problems come up, usually it's like when something urgent comes around, it's hard to afford to live. But I think I talked about that more in the previous episode, and I want to talk more to, um, say you're at a stage where you're ready to start, strategizing. Say you're at a stage where, maybe you still have debt, maybe, but, say you're at a stage where you get your paycheck and you're not like down to the last cent or going to be negative after you pay for your basics. Um, you really need to know what those basics will look like. That would probably be the first step, is knowing the necessities, like the bare bones, what you need to live. And I don't mean like scrimping to the point that it's like not realistic. Like you can eat top ramen every day and all that kind of stuff, but it's like for your health and your well-being and your focus and stuff, like, and your motivation, like, are you really going to be motivated to like not eat healthy and to eat just like crap food? And I mean, I love instant ramen. I have a problem. Like, that stuff is like, it's so good tasting. Like, it's not good for you, but sometimes that stuff hits the spot. But I mean, if I were forced to eat that every day, I don't know. Like, I don't feel good when I eat it. Um, like more than one day in a row. Like if I eat it for like one meal once in a while, then I'll feel okay. But that is going to be a significant problem if you start, sacrificing health just to save money. It's like that's a slippery slope. You don't want to get into sacrificing health, sacrificing stress levels, um like, yeah, you can work more, but it's like you still need to rest and balance your life. Or yeah, you can work less, but you still need money to cover your expenses. Or yeah, you can scrimp in certain areas and save by cutting, cutting out this, cutting out that. But there's only so much you can cut out before it starts weighing on your stress levels and your motivation. Like maybe for a week you can cut out certain stuff, but other stuff is like you could probably cut out a lot of some stuff easily. And then other stuff is going to be harder to cut out, and that's going to be more of a psychological thing. It's like, but you don't want to. I don't think it's motivating to create a strategy where you're like deprived, because then that can almost be like, it can almost create a situation like I don't know. Like I think a lot of people have tried dieting. I think dieting is one of the best examples of kind of like psychologically being able to kind of control something, right? So like you can for whatever reason you can become motivated to diet. I'm not talking just eating salads, but say you're not informed about like what you need for your own health and what it looks like for you to like lose weight by whatever date and whatever amount of weight you're trying to lose, and you're just like, I'm just going to eat salads. You know, naturally, even if you eat something that's filling, like white rice and like lettuce or something, like I don't know. I'm not saying do this. Please don't do this. But like even if you did, find some method of something that's like just healthy enough, like white rice, plain lentils, and some veggies on the side, just nothing seasoned, just that could probably sustain you. But it's so bland, and as humans, and living in places, when you live in a place where you have access to different types of food, like you start getting deprived. Like you could probably do that for a day or two, maybe even a little longer. Some people might be able to control a little longer, but it's like when you start depriving yourself, you know, unless you really have like some doctor saying like, oh, you have to be at this appointment, and you're motivated to like go to that doctor's appointment and have your lab results read a certain way, or you're motivated to like, you know, do like, if it's some temporary kind of motivation, you can probably do it, right? But when it comes to, okay, this is going to be my official diet, just like white rice, plain lentils, plain veggies, and I'm just going to eat that breakfast, lunch, and dinner. After a couple days, you're going to be craving whatever the heck else. Like, it doesn't matter even if you wouldn't have eaten it in the first place. And say somebody, comes and knocks at your door one day and they're like, we're giving away free family sized Doritos. You will probably polish off that whole bag of Doritos by yourself. Whereas normally, you probably wouldn't just sit and just eat it all at once. Like maybe you would, but maybe normally that wouldn't be normal for you. But because you've been deprived for so long, you just, somebody gives you a pizza or something, you just eat the whole thing. Like, because when you're in a deprived state, even if you are technically fed, technically full, like, you want something pleasurable. Like, that's not pleasurable, right? And money kind of works the same way in an odd way. It's like you can scrimp and save and hold back your money and not really spend it, as part of a strategy, but then it's like some people just, they can't contain themselves, and all of a sudden they go binge spending, and they'll go on like a shopping spree or go online, and just suddenly like your mind just like flips a switch to another direction, and all those plans of whatever you were saving for temporarily or long term, all those plans go out the window, and you can't see past your goals, and you start just like spending on stuff like excessively just because you've been deprived for so long. And that can come in so many forms. Like it can come in the form of like food, or like sneakers, or clothing, or video games, or whatever it is you like to spend your money on. So I would say the first thing that's easiest to cut out is like apps, games. I mean, I like video games. I play video games. I think that's probably obvious to a lot of people, but I mean, I play video games. I love video games. I love Forza. I love Some old games like Portal. Um, I'm not gonna go into a whole list, but Call of Duty for sure. Like I love video games so much, and it's like I can't imagine never playing games again. But it's like a lot of things have become subscription based, and so you know if I want to get a video game subscription, or so I can just load games and just play whenever I want, or versus buying one game like a single purchase off my Steam account and then just like I have it, I own it, it's mine, versus like okay, like I'm paying monthly for this service and who knows how long I'm going to pay, those are two different things. So sometimes if you do the math and you strategize, you can, if it's something like video games or a subscription, sometimes you might be better off not paying a monthly subscription, because all these little apps and things, software subscriptions and everything adds up. If you have a $2.99 subscription here and a $5.99 subscription there, like this is every like 30 days or so you're paying this. So sometimes it can help to just be like, what the heck am I paying for? Let me just buy the thing outright. Like, for example, I've paid for Gaia, the app, before, and it's like I've used it for yoga and workouts and different types of like meditation activities and things like this. And sometimes it just helps to just, you know, I'm just gonna go to the gym that I already pay for and go to a freaking yoga class, or, I'm just gonna get something free and do, like, YouTube has plenty of free stuff that you can learn from, stuff that even gets updated, or you can even just buy, it might be counterintuitive, but you can technically buy like maybe a 1999 like, 120 days worth of like yoga routines, and that's already like, 4 months. If I'm paying $15 for an app a month, but then I got what I would have been doing, instead of paying over $60, for that amount of time, and paying $20 for that amount of time, like, even if I bought, a video that's 120 days length of material, sometimes that is a better cost, So it's like, sometimes just looking at things like that, it's like trying to get off the subscriptions. And like, because I mean, I could say wipe them all out, don't do any of it, don't even use the subscriptions, don't get any apps and delete all your apps. And then it's like, well, if you're not replacing that with something else, because you clearly bought the app or started using the app because it was something you were motivated towards, like I'm motivated towards relaxation and stress management and health, and if I decide to do away with it, it's like I might not have a replacement for all that. And that can be detrimental later on down the road, right? Because it's like, well, now, like, that was helping me maintain a certain lifestyle, and now I don't have anything that I know of that I'm familiar with that is maintaining, my health and things like that. And so I might be stuck, and then fall back into bad habits. And again, that in turn leads to, higher stress levels, higher spending, like, and so sometimes it's like, okay, yes, cut it out if you can cut it out, but it's like, if you feel like you can't cut it out and you'll be too deprived and it's going to lead you to slip into other kind of like problems, you don't have to fully cut it out. You can partially cut it out, or stop your subscription to your app and purchase a one-time purchase of an item that you can just use for a length of time that's long enough that you're actually getting your money's worth, and it's still like not that much money. Like $19.99 versus $15.99. I don't even know how much the Gaia app costs, but a lot of apps have increased their prices too, and their monthly price increases. Like, I remember way back, I would pay $2.99, $3.99, $1.99, $5.99. You would rarely come across an app that was more than $7.99 or $9.99. And now a lot of the apps are like minimum around $5.99, $7.99, and up to like $15.99, even like more, like $24.99. Like, you're paying so much money now for the same thing that you were getting before. But this is every month. Like if you think about an app that costs you $24.99, that's every 4 months you're paying about $100 for whatever that is. And it seems like it's not a lot of money because it's like $24.99 is really nothing in the scheme of things. But it's like depending what you're using, like are you really using it enough? Like I have a gym membership to 24 Hour Fitness, and I think I pay about $24.99. I have to go back. It's less than $30, but let's just round it up to $30. I mean, like, I go to the gym just because it's a place to go. I get out of the house and I go and do that. But it's like, you know, I do it because it's like an extra step before having to come back home. So it's like I like being out of the house sometimes. I like having stuff to do. So it's kind of like a prepaid activity that I can just go do whenever the heck I feel like it. So for me, it's kind of worth it because I do use it multiple times in a week usually. But it's like, say I didn't use that gym membership, you know, $30 a month. If I only go once a month, it's like I could just go to the beach and take a walk for free and not have a gym membership. You know what I mean? It's like $30 a month. Every 3 months, you're paying like $90, for something that you don't even do. It's like that doesn't make any sense. And it's easy to see with like the gym or something, but it's harder to see with like apps. I mean, apps are almost that price sometimes, and it's like when you pay for apps, sometimes you're really paying for a lot of stuff, and it adds up. The little fees monthly here and there, you can easily be, breaking $100, $200 every month just for a few apps and a few subscriptions of things that you might not even be using on a regular basis. I feel like if you don't use something at least once a week, then it's probably not going to be worth your money, in all honesty. It's like, like you can find other options usually. Like if I'm doing a yoga program that costs me, $25 a month online, like, and I'm using it once a week, it's like I might as well just cancel that subscription. I'm only doing 4 yoga sessions a month. I could find something cheaper than that. Even if I did want to pay, I could find something free or cheap, cheaper. And so that would be one thing, is cutting out the apps, cutting down the apps, like looking at the numbers of what you spend on like software and things like that. Just things that just come out of your account. You don't even think about it. Like you buy it once and then you're just like, okay, like it seems worth it. But then like when you do the math on how much you use it, it doesn't really add up. It's like, okay, like shop around a little bit, Now some things I know it's for health and motivation. So it's like some things I will keep. In all honesty, I'll keep them just because I'm less it's for my health and I'm less motivated um I'll be more motivated if I keep it versus if I delete it, or if I know, like, but you can delete things or quit your subscription, and if you decide you really want to start using it again, you can usually subscribe again. It's usually just a click of a button. The only issue with that is that sometimes the prices might go up. Like you might be locked in at a $9.99 price, and then you go and you want it later, and it's like, oh, now it's $15.99 instead of $9.99 because you're now a new customer technically, versus if you stayed with it. But it's like, yeah, like when you do the math, it's like, yeah, you're saving like $5 a month for something that you already aren't using. It's like, so I don't know. Sometimes it's hard for me to really say specifics because I don't know everyone's individual situation, but that's usually a good place to start. Is just the simple expenses that aren't like the most meaningful things in life. Sometimes it's like, sometimes that kind of stuff isn't too valuable, and usually there's like some other option. There's some other product that might be more like better for your wallet and your planning. So yeah, that I would say other expenses, like if you have a car, transportation fees add up. This is gonna sound like basic of the basics, but try to plan your errands and your outings so that it all kind of makes sense as far as how much mileage you're using. Now this might sound super dumb. This might be the dumbest thing that it sounds like I'm gonna say, but it's like I've done this before, you know, like gone out, come back home, gone out, come back home, gone out, come back home. It's like, you know, if you live in an area where everything's there, I mean, just go buy all the stuff you need to do, go do what you need to do all your errands at once, and then come back home, you know, if it's not like too stressful or too overwhelming. Because when you think of how expensive gas is, like out here, gas is like over $5. And, you know, just to be driving all over the place, doing something not even important. Like today, for example, you know, I left the house. Instead of buying lunch out, I had already had groceries from earlier. And so I took a protein shake with me. I took a couple, like, muffins that someone in our house made earlier this week. I ate one muffin for lunch, and I went and I studied. And then probably a couple hours later, around 2:45 ish or 2:15 ish, because I was gonna leave at 2:45, I ate the other muffin and had a protein shake. And then I went to the gym and did a workout for like, I don't know, like about 40 minutes or so. And then after going to the gym, after working out, um, you know, I'm kind of right now just kind of sitting in an outdoor space, just getting some fresh air. And instead of, you know, going home between all of these activities, even though, you know, I don't live far from any of it, it's all like 10, 15 minutes away, but it's like, you know, it saves gas. Like I leave the house once, and then when I come home, I'm home, you know, instead of leaving the house and then coming home and then like going back and back out. And like that adds up. The mileage adds up. I mean, you might have a car that's way better on gas than mine. My car sucks at gas, but like my gas mileage is terrible. My car's super old, but um, things like that, you know, um, it can be nice to be out and about a little bit and just like chill. Like when you have a car, I really enjoy, you know, finding outdoor spaces to just chill in the car, just kind of relax. Find a spot in the shade and just kind of chill there. Go to a park, just kind of chill there. Like, you know, get out of the house a little bit, and even if you're just doing little solo activities, you know, just not running around town so much that you're going back and forth to the house and stuff. Like strategizing a little bit, like where you're gonna go. Or like if you can postpone an errand, postpone it till a day when you're gonna be near what you're gonna do. Like I've been meaning to stop by the gas station. I'm not like on empty or anything, but it's like every week I try to get a little bit of. I try to get like $10 of gas a week, which isn't a lot, but I also don't go that many places in this car. And you know, $10 a week gets me by. I know that's not normal for most people, but $10 a week gets me by. And so, you know, I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna be at the near the gas station. Like, for example, I mean, I am totally near a gas station all the time, but I was like, you know, I'm gonna wait till a day when I'm actually like right near the gas station when I have an errand that's like right in the same plaza or something, versus going out of the way to do it. Like, kind of like having a strategy where like if you do run errands in certain places, doing the stuff in the same areas versus going out of your way for like one thing that you could wait to do. Like if you get groceries near work, you know, unless you're really running out of food, like maybe just wait until you're near work, or automatically, like once you leave work, get groceries on the way instead of going from your house after work, driving all the way back over near your work to get the groceries and then driving all the way back home. It's like little things like that are a waste. And then speaking of waste, you know, food is another big one. Most people do waste a lot of food, myself included. Unfortunately, I wish that wasn't the case, but you know, I've learned that it actually, I mean, because I just eat what I'm eating for myself. And so usually it helps for me to buy like a few days worth of food, not even a week worth, because sometimes I change my mind. I'm like, this is what I thought I wanted, and now I want something else, you know? or this is what I thought I was going to eat, and somebody ordered pizza. Now we have pizza or whatever, or somebody cooked something that I like, and I'd rather eat that instead. And then my food sits there and sits there and sits there after I paid for it, and then it goes bad. Um, I mean, these are like little simple things. These aren't like rocket science kind of ideas, but I mean, it takes a lot of like planning just to kind of tweak those little things if you're used to doing them. And you can definitely do that. You can tweak it a little bit just so that you can, benefit from that little bit of savings, and write it down. It helps to see the numbers. See how much you spend on gas in a week or in a month or however often you fill your tank. See how much it costs you. And then go in after like a week of trying these strategies and see how much you've saved. And then multiply that by 4, because there's like about 4 weeks every month. That's about how much money you're saving per month per thing that you're doing. And it helps to see that. It's almost like when you go to a grocery store and they're like, you saved $7.31 because you bought this or whatever, like, and you see it and you're like, okay, whatever, I saved, but it's kind of like I still spent a lot of money, you know. But they tell you that because like it feels good, they know that they're gonna make you feel good. It is kind of weird and awkward, when a cashier says it. Like I've seen it on the receipts or seen it on the like self checkout, but it's kind of funny when a cashier is like, "You saved $1.26 today," and it's like, okay, like, but so what, what I mean? But it's like when you do it for yourself, sometimes you're like, okay, make a column for gas, make a column for um food, make a column for, apps, make a column for Uber Eats, make a column for all these things. And once you start cutting back and seeing the numbers, cutting back doesn't have to mean, depriving yourself to a point that you're going to just like not be able to do it. Like you want to find that balance where, you're still able to get your needs met. You're still able to have some fun. Like, I'm not saying don't have fun. I'm just saying, like, a lot of times it's easy to get into these habits where you're spending money on things that really aren't necessary. And it takes a lot to just sit and look at those numbers. Like, usually Sunday is my math day, and I sit with my math. And, if I don't want to do it, I'll postpone it to like Wednesday or something. Thursday is my cleaning day. I have different days where I do different things. And so it's like, sometimes it helps to just kind of have a day where it's not going to take me all day, but like a day where I set aside time to do certain things, versus just like winging it every day. You got to have a strategy. Like, even if you're saving $25 a week, that's still $100 a month. So it's like when you think about it, it's like that's a big amount of savings. Like, if you cut one thing and it already saves $100 a month, I mean, like, that's pretty impressive. And um you know like, there aren't a lot of categories that might be like that. Like, you can only save so much before you really have to start cutting into the stuff that you know that you actually want to keep, but you're not ready to get rid of it, or you might never be ready to kind of like stop spending on that. It is individual. Like, and I know it's hard, but it's like, it does take first those steps of actually trying to look at it and trying to see what you can do, and actually following along with that and like doing those kinds of things. So yeah, I that's pretty much all I have to say. Start small and then go bigger. Start with what you're motivated to do, and then maybe push yourself a little bit, but don't push too much too hard unless you think you can maintain it. I mean, for some people, like, the whole cold turkey thing works. They're like, I just tried something and never went back, to the other method, to the old way, and that's how I got the results. And some people have to get comfortable with the little bit of discomfort, little at a time, little change at a time, and then you start seeing the differences. I've definitely experienced that in life with like exercising, with eating healthy, with different, like, sleeping on time. different things for my health, it's like I didn't try doing it all at once, you know, because it's like I like to have random schedules and just like be spontaneous and be random about things and not really, you know, sometimes I want to stay up late talking to my friends online or playing video games. Sometimes I want to be online late watching movies, so, you know, so I'm like, okay, I'll give myself a day in the week where I can do that, you know. Um, like Wednesdays are usually my do anything you want day. So since right now it's Tuesday for me, I'm going to do whatever I want tonight. I didn't do whatever I wanted today, but I'm going to do whatever I want tonight because that bleeds into Wednesday, meaning I can wake up when I want, I can do what I want when I feel like it on Wednesdays. Um, if I want to study, I can study. If I want to just go screw around and like go to the beach and chill in the water, I can go do that. I mean, it might actually be raining tomorrow, so I probably can't do that if it's raining, but you know, I give myself a day, and it doesn't even have to be a weekend, you know, for me. I'm like, usually, yes, weekends, it helps to do it on a weekend, but sometimes it's like, dude, if I can do it on a weekday, I'll do it on a weekday. Like, it's my life, my schedule, like, I'm the one setting the rules here. And so, if you set rules for yourself where you can do whatever you want with your expenses and do whatever you want at any time, you're not going to have any limits or boundaries, and it's going to be hard to, like, find a method to stick to because you're not really trying to have a method. But you know, if you're trying to have a method and you're trying to stick to a certain, you know, way of doing things, you can definitely make that happen too. And so, but yeah, see what works for you. If you've never done it before, it can be pretty exciting, but then you'll figure out, you know, try to pay attention to when you go against your strategy and against your plan. Try to pay attention to what's happening for you there. You know, don't just ignore it and be like, oh well, I'm back to spending like I was, and I didn't stick to the plan, didn't save any money this week or this month. You know, try to look at it and be like, okay, where did things go not as planned? Like, where was I spending too much? Like, what was I doing? What was going on in my life at that time? Like, it helps to even like keep a daily journal and then go back and be like, oh, this is the day I spent too much. And I remember the night before that I didn't sleep very good, and then I was really hungry because I woke up too late and didn't have breakfast, and then when it came to lunch at work, I overdid it and spent on like too much food because I was shopping with my eyes and my stomach. You know, I was shopping with my stomach and not with my actual like financial plan. I was shopping out of hunger, you know, and so I spent and bought all this stuff that I ended up shoving in the fridge and just never ate the rest of it and wasted the money on that. And like it can be little things like that where it's like, oh, so maybe on the days when I don't sleep well, I need to kind of have like a perfect bar or like a granola bar or like a protein shake or like something that's like available for me just in case there's a day of the week that I don't sleep too well, so that I can remedy that problem or like, you know, limit it from potentially happening. Um, but it's hard, you know, it's hard to like catch yourself, and you know, also, you know, always just not beating yourself up about stuff, because that only makes it worse. You know, if you're gonna, you know, make a mistake or do something that you didn't really mean to do, you know, and just like talking down to yourself and stuff isn't gonna motivate you. Like, you want to kind of coach yourself and be nice about it and polite and kind and helpful to yourself. You don't want to, um, you know, severely discipline yourself or, you know, demotivate yourself or punish yourself in a way that, you know, it just feels bad. And, yeah, you don't want to do that. So, I don't know. Like, that's something that I can kind of say is one of the best, easiest ways to kind of start to get the ball rolling, and then go from there. You know, keep continuing it until you kind of develop more strategies. But a lot of it is paying attention to your mind, paying attention to your body, paying attention to what's going on inside of you, because most of your spending is going to come from there. It's not going to come from, the basic stuff like I need rent, I need to pay rent, I need to pay for my food, I need to pay for beverages or at least drink water or have access to clean water. I need to get around to and from work, I need transportation. You know, there are many forms of transportation. It doesn't always have to be like the newest Tesla or whatever. Like you can get around. I mean, I got a car that's going on 21 years old, and yes, it breaks every now and then, but it's like whatever I pay to get it fixed is still cheaper than what I would be paying for a car, every year. But again, it limits me. Like I can't just go to San Diego anymore. I can't just like go just like take a weekend trip, just like, oh, I wake up on a Friday, I'm like, Saturday's tomorrow, I'm just gonna go out of town and go meet my friends all the way 100 miles away and then drive back the same day. Like I don't really think this car can really handle too much more of that. So if I did have a better, newer car, I could probably do trips like that, but it's like, is it worth that much debt to me if I can't afford it? Is it worth that much debt to me to buy a new car just so I can go see my friends a couple times in a year, or every few, like, it's not like I'm hanging out with them every day, it would just be on occasions, like maybe once a month, but it's like, that's still only 12 times a year. So it's like, is a brand new luxury Tesla worth 12 trips to San Diego? You know what I mean? It's like, there are cheaper ways to do that, So it's like, sometimes it's like, I really want this thing because it's really cool and it'll help me to do this other cool thing, but it's like the math doesn't really check out. So sometimes it helps to just sit on a decision. But those are just some basics for now. I'm gonna get home. I'm hungry. Gotta go to the bathroom. I'll see if I post a daily at the end of this. And thanks for listening. Alright guys, so an update about May 2023. So I basically had a microdose of blue meanie mushroom chocolate, and I basically was I don't know, like, how would I describe, I guess, overall it was a pretty good experience. I mean, the only thing I've ever experienced negative with psilocybin is the intestinal discomfort. I mean, I'm not talking about like, if a person takes like a whole lot and then, they're kind of having like some kind of psychedelic reaction, or experience, but even those, I mean, I find them valuable. Like, I definitely get to gather and challenge a lot of unhelpful lifestyle choices and things like that, but mostly what I experienced was increased motivation, increased energy. I would say I wasn't like as sharp. Like, I'm not saying I wasn't sharp, but I wasn't super sharp. Like, when I was podcasting yesterday and some other stuff, I wasn't like super sharp. Even same today, I'm not like super sharp. I'm like slight foggy, but not quite foggy enough to be like ultra concerned. So I guess that's one of the best ways I can explain the experience, is that overall I didn't really notice like how poorly I had been feeling and how poorly I had been really functioning on some levels, as far as like restfulness, those types of things. Being able to just relax when I want to, like, it didn't take much, when I needed to relax, just to, do slight, like very slight amount of like breathing techniques, and then I just felt better, versus usually it takes a lot more than that, for me to actually feel like, okay, like I can kind of continue on with the next step for today. So that was probably one of the bigger things that happened yesterday. Otherwise, I just studied, went to the beach. The coffee shop I study at is near the beach. Did some podcasting from the beach. Went and took my afternoon kind of restfulness at the house, but because, like, I guess I got back just maybe around 3-ish, 3 something, and stayed till not even 4 o'clock, because we're getting some construction done on our roof, and so even right now, as I was just leaving, I saw the guy coming in who usually does the construction, and we were kind of like, I don't know, we don't talk or anything necessarily. He's like family friend. I've got nothing against him. We just don't talk. Like, we just don't talk like that. Because he's like more of a friend of my parents. He's got daughters that are like a few years older than I am. But yeah, other than that, he's a family friend. I've known him since I was like 5. So yeah, he's doing work on our house. There's a storm coming Thursday, so I'm guessing that's why my folks are wanting the roof repaired finally. Because otherwise, it's been kind of falling apart a little bit. But yeah, I'm headed now to the coffee shop, a different coffee shop by the mall, to get some studying done. Then I'll head over to the beach. Dude, this car does not like idle lately. It is not doing too good in idle. But yeah, that's all. Just getting to the daily grind.